Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Last question. And I admire your loyalty to your country as well. Can you share with me the words in the national pledge?
Thereby I recite it. I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. But Ghana is actually my fatherland. I pledge myself to the service of Ghana with all my strength and with all my heart. I promise to uphold in high esteem a heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And I pledge myself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask one of the most important questions for young people and the middle class, and that is the issue of paying rent advance. It is an issue not because there's a lack of an existing law or act, but it's the lack of enforcement of that act. Honorable nominee, what would be the recommendation to your minister in ensuring that this rent act is complied with? What would be your recommendation to your minister in how to handle landlords and landladies, especially in this subject matter? Because I'm sure it is a matter that you are so familiar with, and it's a matter that is so prevalent in the urban centers of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Together with my minister, the best way to handle this would be to have a review, a discussion, a dialogue around the whole rent control and rent management system. Now, it is best, because of the various stakeholders involved, that the rent control department is one key one. It is decentralized and is found in many districts across the country, but they still always have issues with rent, and it can really bring quite a number of conflicts around. So yes, the discussion will be had. We are very committed to solving as many problems relating to our ministry as we can, and that's assurance I will give you from my minister. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, a follow-up to that question. I want your honest and personal opinion on this matter, not a stakeholder engagement. Thank you.
The law says the rent should not be collected for more than 6 months. But just as you said, with the challenge of, there is a challenge of enforcement of that. But again, it will come down to dialogue with stakeholders. Because with time, if, for example, I'm building and I've been charging 3 years advance, 2 years, 3 years advance, and all of a sudden I'm being told that I must comply with the law and come down to 6 months. People feel that they have made an investment in housing. They feel that they have made an investment and they want returns. And some people actually, it is their business to build and rent out for 2-3 years, and they get some bulk money and they go and start the next one. And yes, I also appreciate that the young people, young middle class, anybody who actually needs a place, who is starting life, will need a place to stay. I can only say that the approach of dialogue is the way to go. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Chair, my second question, if I may. Honorable nominee, I take you to the university campuses and the tertiary institutions, and in the specific area of housing for tertiary and university students. It's always a delicate and a tricky matter. What would be your personal position on this matter as far as landlords in these environments, especially in the housing and accommodation for tertiary students and lands closer to these institutions? The landlords always want to demand a commercial rate, and the students always want the affordability. It is also clear that many of our tertiary institutions do not have the capacity to always put out these housing units for students. And what would be your personal recommendation and opinion in this particular matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So university accommodation, in our time, we were not as densely populated as they are now. And so, yes, there's been a very huge demand on university accommodation because the numbers that are taken to universities every year just get larger by the day. And it is also a business for some people who have built hostels for university campuses. Again, Honorable Sami Auku, I'll take you to back to the issue of there must be the dialogue. That's where it all starts from. Because there are so many universities now, and apart from the accommodation they have on campus, the private hostels that are there, again, it's somebody's investment. To be fair, it is somebody's investment. They've put a lot of money into it, and they will expect returns. But they can also not be exorbitantly charging rents and rates as and when they please. So that is why the dialogue is important. Because sometimes you can also not impose, it becomes a demand and supply issue also. If there's not enough, and this is what is there, what do you expect the person to be charging? That is why sometimes the dialogue must be. Maybe the university could come out and say that these are the rates that are acceptable to us, our students. Maybe that discussion could be had. But at some points, it has to be a dialogue.
A constituency. We have problems with storm drains. We also have problems with flooding. And this is replicated in some other constituencies. I'm sure, apart from Wejagbawe, you may find that in Botiano. And I think it's because of the topography of the area. Do you have any plans? Because we talk about dredging. And now, even dredging, largely, you have the district assemblies doing so. You have the money for desilting as well. I'm more excited seeing you there because that's going to be a way to solve these problems. Are you going to assure us that you would find ways to solve these problems, especially on the construction of storm drains and then dredging and desilting? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there are some existing projects, some projects that are going on. I know there are some box culverts that were being constructed by in between McCarthy Hill and Weja, if I recall. I think they are still under construction. I think that's in your constituency. Oh, that's Botiano. But they all have linkages from one to the next. So I believe that, I do not know the entire scope of that particular project, but I believe that it will enter your constituency. But the general thing, like I talked about, is the runoff, the surface runoff. That, I think, that can be tackled locally. And let us make whether I could say announcements or whatever, encourage people to plant a bit more, have a bit more green space, or just earth that will be able to absorb the water, than always having hard surfaces that allow for runoff, which then becomes flooding if it cannot be contained or percolated down. So you still have a bit of the problem, but I believe that step by step it will be solved.
That word, affordable housing, has been used over the years. In your view, given the current economic situation, income levels of middle income, basic civil servants, do you think we should still be calling it affordable housing, or you want a different name for it? They just cannot. The people they are meant for can't afford it.
So maybe, Mr. Chair, it's time to apply some marketing techniques to it and just sell it as an estate, give it a very nice name. Meanwhile, you know that the specifications are much lower than what may be high end, because the affordable tag sounds a bit not demeaning, but it seems to have a bit of a negative connotation, and somebody wants, I don't want to go that way, it's affordable housing. But the house is the house, and it's shelter. And sometimes what you really need is just a roof over your head. But obviously with our tastes and preferences, we all have different wants, and then it moves from the point of a need to a want. So I think that my minister would be very, and we've had those discussions, you know, what do we do to make it sound a bit different or change the connotation of affordability? Meanwhile, it may still be affordable. But really in Ghana, what is affordable? What building materials are affordable these days? That's a challenge. Thank you.